Hi, this is Dowell with the Mid-Atlantic Center for Emergency Management and Public Safety and curriculum developer for the GIS pathway under the Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness Program. And today I'll be providing an introduction and tutorial on ArcGIS Online. And for those of you who are not familiar with ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Online is a cloud-based platform made available through Esri that allows users to easily create and share web maps and mapping applications, and also to analyze, visualize, and edit GIS data within that web environment. And there are a number of reasons why ArcGIS Online is a great tool and teaching resource for instructors that are using GIS in their classroom. The first of which being that being fully web-based, there's no software that's required for installation, so it's easy for students to get access to it. The only requirements are that students need a login, which I'll cover here in a moment, they need internet access and a web browser. So really easy for students to get access to. They can access the tools from anywhere and the data from anywhere. The second reason is that it's a very easy to learn interface. So it's a great starting point for students that are just getting familiarized with GIS software and technology. And it's a great introduction into some of the more advanced desktop applications that students will be using in the GIS curriculum. So software like ArcMap, ArcCatalog, and ArcGIS Pro, this gives them a great way to transition into some of those more advanced software applications. And then finally, the other benefit is that for instructors that are using ArcGIS Online as a tool in their classrooms, this is available for free. So instructors can request access to ArcGIS Online through the school's mapping software bundle. And to get access to that, I'll show you the site. So under the Esri website, you'll see that there's a page for the school's mapping software bundle, and if you search school software mapping bundle, it'll be pretty easy to track this down. And this provides information on the program. It also provides instructors with information on the various licensing tiers, so you'll see that they start at 50 or fewer users all the way up to 10,000 users. And I think for most of you out there, the lower tier of 50 or fewer users is probably the most appropriate, unless you're planning on going this out at the school level, which some school systems do. But what this will do is it'll provide you access to user accounts up to the limit of your license tier. These accounts are flexible in that you can assign them to students and you can reuse them as needed. So as you have a class complete, you can reassign these seats to new students that are coming into your classes. The licensing tiers also provide access to credits. And also use this credits as a way to track the use of data. So as data is published to ArcGIS Online, as data is hosted in ArcGIS Online, and analysis is on ArcGIS Online, and Esri resources are being used to do so, they use credits to track, and so you will get credits that you can use for those purposes. And in my experience, the number of seats that you'll be getting out of the school mapping software bundle and the number of credits you will receive will be more than sufficient for your use in the classroom. So I don't anticipate that most instructors will have any issues with running out of credits or running out of available user accounts. So again, on the bottom of the page here, there's a very basic form instructors need to fill out to be able to get access to the ArcGIS for Schools bundle. A really basic form that has information on your school, location, on your contact, and what will happen is you'll fill this form out. A rep from Esri will reach out to you and they'll help you along with getting things set up, and you should be up and running typically within a week. So it's a pretty quick and painless process, and again, it's going to give you access to tremendous ArcGIS Online-based resources that you can then use for your classes. So with that, I'm going to then switch over to the tutorial on ArcGIS Online. And for this tutorial, I'm going to use Federal Community College ArcGIS Online account. So you can see here that based on the URL, our address is frederickcc.math.arcgis.com. When you go and you set up your ArcGIS Online instance, you'll have some flexibility on what you can name it. So you'll be able to name it something that's more appropriate to your school or to your course or your program. And so then from there, you can access your ArcGIS Online homepage. So you can see our homepage is the Mid-Atlantic Center for Emergency Management and Public Safety. We've got some basic information. We have our logo. And you can easily customize your homepage to sensitive information about your class, your program, or your school, and kind of make it your own. Then across the top of the home page, you've got some other pages that you can access. The first one being gallery. So the gallery is going to be a place where you can get information about the various content that is hosted in your ArcGIS Online environment. So this will give you access to be able to quickly see what you have in terms of data, in terms of maps, web applications, and here you can access some of your content. So you can search through your items by type, whether they have maps or layers or scenes. You can search by location, by date modified, by tags. You can also change the way that you're viewing your information so you can see them in a grid, as you see here. You can see them in a list. You can change how you view your data. You can also filter your contents out using any number of filters. So if you have a lot of content in your ArcGIS Online environment, that gives you a nice way to be able to get through it and to sort and filter. When I go to the top here, you'll see that the next item is map. I'll skip over this one for right now because we'll spend most of our time working with a map later in this exercise. We've also got scene, and scenes are 3D data visualizations that you can do within ArcGIS Online, very similar to what you would do in a 3D scene in ArcGIS Pro. So I'm not going to spend time on this today, but there's some really interesting things that you can do with 3D data within that environment, and students seem to really enjoy working with 3D data. So it can be a great tool to explore, and ArcGIS Online makes it pretty easy to be able to pull data in, do some really interesting visualizations in 3D, and even to do some 3D analysis. Next up, we have notebooks. And notebooks are a way for users to leverage Python for the analysis and management of data. And so for students that are really interested in coding, this could be a great way to introduce them to Python, which is a scripting language that's really tightly integrated into the ArcGIS platform and can be used for doing data analytics and doing data engineering. So this can be a nice way to help introduce them to Python and see how it interacts with some of the ArcGIS components. We've also got groups here, and groups you can use to provide access to your content and to create logical collections of students. So if you have a class, you probably want to create a group for your class that includes all of the students that are part of it, and that gives you the ability to be able to share information. You can just add it to your group, and then all the students in that group can access the information. And students can share their information with the rest of their group if they would like to. You can also use groups to help with specific activities or exercises. So if you're breaking up a class into small groups, you can create groups for those exercises and help to foster a collaborative environment. We've also got content here. And content is going to give you access to all of the data that you currently have within your ArcGIS Online environment. So if you go to content, you'll see that you can search in your content. You can look for specific items that you're trying to find. And this can include anything from web maps, web apps, feature services, tables, service definitions. So anything that you have within ArcGIS Online, you'll be able to see here in content. So you can search for it here, much like you could in the gallery. You can look at it in a couple of different ways, and you can put some filters on them. You can also organize your data here. So if you decided that you want to break your content up by exercise or by activity, you can create folders, and you can put content in folders to help keep yourself organized. You can also use it to archive content, as I have here. So I've got some archive content that maybe I'm not using actively, but I want to keep within the ArcGIS Online environment in case I do want to use it at a later date. So you've got a lot of organizational things that you can do within the content page. The content page also provides you the ability to add new items to ArcGIS Online. And so this gives you the ability to go and push information up that you might have on your computer, on a server or on a cloud drive, like a Google Drive, up to ArcGIS Online so that you can use it. And there are a lot of file formats that you can use within ArcGIS Online. So this could include anything from Shapefiles or geodatabases, KML, KMZ files that you would typically use in Google Earth. You can upload tables So if you have a CSV or a text file that has information that you want to upload, you can do so, and then you can use the information in the table. For example, if you had XY coordinates, you can use it to then map your features, and then you can display it within ArcGIS Online and use it as a layer. So a lot of flexibility in the types of data sets that you can push up to ArcGIS Online, and where we can pull that information from. In addition, you can also create new data sets within ArcGIS. And so you can go and create, and I can create a new feature layer, which could be a point, a line, or a polygon layer, which you could then edit within ArcGIS Online. You can also put imagery layers up, tile layers up, among other things. So you've also got the ability to be able to create new data sets within ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to start today by uploading a new item to ArcGIS Online. As you can see, I've got a couple of items here. I've got a web map that I have created. I've got a tile layer and some other things. I'm actually going to add a shapefile that I have on my computer here. So I'm going to go to Add Item on my computer. I'll go here to Choose File, and I'll go to my desktop. And I've got a zip layer called Frederick CC Hydrant. And so one thing to note is that if you're going to upload a shapefile or a geodatabase, you need to be zipped up. Otherwise, ArcGIS Online won't accept it. So you have to zip it up. You'll choose that file, and then you can go to your contents, and you can specify the type. And this will give you a feel for what types of contents you can push up. So you can see here that I've got some file formats that you probably are familiar with, like shapefile, file geodatabase, KML, CSV, which is a table, CAD drawings. And we've also got some things that are more advanced things like desktop application templates and map templates and viewer processing samples. So there are a lot of things that you can take from a local driver server and push up into ArcGIS Online. But today I'm going to just push up a shapefile that I have. So this is a shapefile displaying hydrants on campus of Frederick Community College. So I'll select shapefile, that's my format. I'm going to publish this file as a hosted layer, which is going to push the shapefile to ArcGIS Online, but it's also going to create a feature service with the same name, and that feature service I can then use to add to my web map. I can perform analysis on it. So generally speaking, you're going to want to enable this option when you push data sets up to ArcGIS Online. Then I can change my title here. I can put some tags, and the tags will help to make your item searchable. So for this data set, I would probably use tags like FCC, and you should just count up the limited. So I would do FCC and hydrants as my two tags. You can put any number of tags in there. And I'll go ahead and now add my item. And so it'll go ahead and it'll start working on uploading that shapefile up to ArcGIS Online and then creating a new feature service. So when I do that, it'll take me back to my content page, and it'll actually go through the details of the item that I just created. So you can see here that it's creating a new Frederick Community College hydrant feature layer, as I mentioned, as I enabled. You can see a thumbnail that shows where my locations are, so you can see there are a bunch of hydrant points on a map. And then I've got some nice metadata here about when it was created, when it was last updated, number of times it's been viewed. This is really helpful. And when you go to the item page, and this applies to any item, you've got a lot of things that you can do with the item. You can edit the information about the item, so you can change the thumbnail, you can change the name, you can put some descriptions in, so you can add some metadata here that will help make it searchable and also to help document what you have up, especially important if other people are going to be using it. Here we can also export your featured service out to other formats. So if you made changes with ArcGIS Online and wanted to export back out and then take the shapefile and use it somewhere else, you can do that here. You can also export out to table format like CSV or Excel, among other formats. And there are some other things you can do directly from the item page. So you can go and you can make open a map viewer, you can open a scene viewer. You can also take this hosted service and you can open it directly in ArcGIS Desktop, which is really helpful if you want to put some information you have in ArcGIS Online into the desktop environment to use to help build maps or to do analysis. And then we've got other options here for exporting data, updating your data, and so forth. So there are a lot of things that you can do with the data set when you have it pushed up into ArcGIS Online. For today, I'm going to take this Frederick Safety Hydrants layer and I'm going to use it to build a new web map. And so there are two ways that you can accomplish this. The first way is to just go and simply go into open a map viewer and to add to a new map. So I can do that, or I can go up here to map, which I'll go through just to show you the process. So if I were to go to map, it's automatically going to create a new map for me. You can see here it just defaults to the title of my map. It defaults to the extent of the continent of the United States, and it gives me some information on making my map here, just some general guidelines. So when you create a new map, there's no information in there. It was in the base map, so you can see if I were to go to this window here, this will give me information about what I have in my map. If I go to content, you'll see the only thing that I have here is topographic, which is a default base map. And then in my legend, I have no items currently. So, to get started with a new map and to add data to your map, what you'll do is you'll go to the add icon here. You've got a couple of options for how you can add data. You can either search for layers, which will give you the ability to search for data that you have within your organization, within your groups that you are a member of, or that you own. You can also browse for Living Atlas layers, which I'll open up here just to show you. So Living Atlas is the Esri integrated hub for some published data services. And if you have tuned into the session that I did on OpenGIS data portals, it's kind of similar to that. So it's an aggregation of various data sets, some that are owned by Esri, some that are owned and hosted by others. You can see here that there are over 4,600 layers within Living Atlas, and they run the gamut in terms of topic and who they're managed by. So if I were to search, for example, for wildfire, it'll return a number of layers, and they range from current wildfires to newest thermal hotspots. You've got some historical fire perimeter data from California, so you've got all kinds of really interesting data that you can use and pull into your maps and use for various activities from the Living Atlas. So again, these are hosted services from Esri and from other entities that you can leverage. Similarly, you can also go and you can add data from the web. And this comes into play with some of the portals that I mentioned in that session, things like iField Open, Maryland IMAP, FEMA Hub, and countless others. And so this gives you the ability to connect to those services and to pull in layers from there. So this can be a little tricky because you have to get the right base URL to be able to access their services. But once you get that URL, you can browse through their data and you can choose which layer or layers you'd like to add to your map from there. So again, this just gives you a way to go and ingest hosted data services that are out there from other data providers. The other option is, as I showed in that session, within some of those portals, you actually have the option to take a data service and add it directly to a new map. And if you're logged into your ArcGIS Online account, it'll just open up a new map automatically within ArcGIS Online for you. So you can either go from ArcGIS Online and go out and fetch that data and bring it into your map, or you can go from the portal and you can just take that data and use it to create a new map in ArcGIS Online. So you've got some flexibility in how you do that. You can also, within a map, add a layer from a file. And this is kind of similar to what you would do within the content, which I just showed you. Except you're not pushing the data layer up, you're just adding it to your map. So you can add a layer, it'll just bring it into your map directly, and then you can use it and you can save it from there. And you can also add map nodes. These map nodes are essentially markups, so you can add some basic graphics and some text information to your map to help enhance it and make it more friendly for the user. So I'm going to go and I'm going to search for layers, and I'm going to try to find that layer that I just pushed up into ArcGIS Online. So you can see, you can either look into your content, you can filter down and look at your favorites, you can look for information to share with your groups, share with your organization, which could potentially be a good option if you've got a big organization and you've got people that are sharing data with the entire organization for their benefit. You can go and grab something from the Atlas here or from ArcGIS online. So I'm going to just stick with my content. You can see here that I don't have a lot of posted content right now, so Frederick CC Hydrants is the first on the list. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to just hit the plus sign here to add this to my map. When you add a new layer to your map, it's going to go ahead and default to the new extent of your layer. So you can see here that it's been added. If I wanted to, I could add multiple layers from this window. I'm just going to go with this layer for the time being. Go back out, and now you can see that in my legend, I have a layer of Frederick CC Hydrants. In my content, Frederick CC Hydrants is also there along with my base map. And we've got data in our map, and we're now off and running. Just some other notes on base maps. If you go to the base map icon, you'll see that you have quite a few options for out-of-the-box base maps that are provided by Esri and as well as some other providers. So you can see here what we're showing now is a topographic base map, but we've also got aerial imagery. We've got a hybrid imagery that includes some labels. We have a street map, as well as OpenStreetMap and some USGS and topographic services. So you've got some nice pre-packaged base maps that are configured to be used in the web environment, which means they respond quickly. So if I were to be using imagery and to pan around and zoom in and out, it will refresh and reload very quickly, which is really nice. I'll go ahead and for the time being, I will use imagery with labels, which will add some labels for streets and some other basic information. So it's a nice base map that you can use for some of your activities. And so what we'll do first is we'll just explore the data that we added. So we'll take a look at this Frederick CC Hydrant data and see what's in there, see what it's all about. And within the map window, you've got the ability to pan around and zoom. As you would with most mapping applications, it's pretty straightforward. You can drag and pan, you can zoom in and zoom out. You've also got some buttons here in the top left corner of the map to zoom in, zoom out, to return to your default extent. You've got this crosshair icon as well, which will come into play if you're using a device that's GPS enabled, as this can be used to track your location. So if I were working on campus and I wanted to see my location relevant to some of these hydrants, I could do so. So you've got that ability if you are using a GPS enabled device. So what I'll do first is that you'll see some of these points in the map here. Let's go ahead and click on one, and you'll see able to pull up a pop-up window. And it tells me which layer this feature is from, and it gives me some basic information that I've got. So I can explore now some of the information tied to this feature in the attribute table. So you can see the jurisdiction, the city of Frederick, it's an in-service hydrant, excellent condition on campus. I got my X and Y coordinates. So some basic information about the hydrant from the attribute table, just available as a pop-up. I can also use the pop-up to zoom directly to that feature and then get a closer look at it. And I can also use to route. So if you were using this and wanted to get directions to this location, and again, your GPS is enabled, it will give you turn by turn directions to get to this specific location. So, pretty helpful functionality if you are trying to use it for routing. So, then going back over to the content here, you'll see in the legend again, so we have some default symbology that was pulled in with the layer, so just a kind of really basic orange circle. This can be customized, so you can go in and you can easily change the symbology and the format of your features. To do so, you'll go over to content here and you'll see that as of the Frederick CC Hydrant layer, I've got a couple of icons that are available across the top of the item. So I've got this hard legend, which just makes the legend visible or not visible in your content. I've got an attribute table, which we'll explore here in a moment. And then I've got this item, which is change style. So going into this change style icon will give you the ability to change how your layer looks on the map. And you can do it in a number of ways. So you can either show all your features in the same way. So if I wanted to just show the location as a single symbol, I could just keep it as show location only, and I can go to my options here, and I can then change my symbol to any number of things. So if you go to this drop down here, you'll see that there are basic shape symbols available. I've got some ABV, which are letter symbols. I've got everything on down into utilities. So, for this, maybe I'd want to go and look at utilities for water, since these are hydrants. I can kind of pan around, see if I see something that looks good. Maybe we'll go with this icon. From there, I can change the symbol size. I want it to look a little bigger. Change this to make it a little bigger, and I'll hit OK. And now you can see that on my map, my hydrant symbols have changed, and they reflect that update that I made. You can also change the transparency with these sliders, so I can make it more or less transparent. You can change the visible range, which comes into play if you're trying to show layers only within certain scales. So if I have a really dense data set and I don't want to show every single feature when I'm zoomed way out, I can change that visible range so that symbols won't become visible until I get zoomed into a certain point. So it can be a helpful tool for helping to visualize your data. So I'll just say OK here. Another option is that you can symbolize features based on an attribute or a location. So if I wanted to, for example, show my features based on their status or their condition, I'll go to condition, and you can see here that the options for condition and hydrants from my data set automatically added are excellent, good, fair, or poor. So if I wanted to use that attribute to symbolize my features, I can now go into my options, and I can change the individual colors for each of these statuses. So I could maybe make green for excellent. I'll do yellow for good, orange for fair, red for poor. If you have other values that don't fit into one of these classes, you can see here that that gives you a nice handy count of how many features on each of these classification types. And then from here, you can also change the size. If I wanted to change properties for all of my labels, I can do that here, and I can change my size and make these a little bigger. Very easy to see on the back. You've got some options to rotate symbols, and again, transparency. So I'll hit OK, and I'll save that, and we'll see how it looks now on that. So now you can see that I've got my hydrants. Now my hydrants are symbolized based on their condition as they were assessed in the data set. It gives you a nice way to visualize that data now in my map. So there are a lot of options that you can explore for some data symbolization, and a lot of ways you can customize that. The next thing I'll show you here is how to explore the attribute table. So that table icon that I mentioned, if you click that, it's going to bring up the same data that you're seeing in the map window, but it's going to bring it up in a different format. So you'll see, instead of just the point locations, you'll actually see the table information, most places some of the attributes pop up. So now you'll see a row for each feature. Containing that information as I mentioned. If I were to highlight a feature in the table, it's going to highlight the corresponding item on the map, which is nice. So you can see as I go through where those features are. And from the attribute table, I can also do some interesting things where I can put on selections. If I have an aspect selected, I can center on it. I can also filter here. So if I wanted to create a filter on my data, I didn't want to necessarily edit it, but I wanted to do a query, I can say, hey, I only want to show on that hydrants where the condition is excellent, so that's already set up for me. And you have some nice drop downs here that you can use to build these expressions. So I can do only show hydrants where condition is, and we'll say good. I'll apply that filter. Now you can see that both on the map and in my attribute table, I'm now only showing hydrants that had a status, a condition of good, as you can see there. And you'll be able to just go back in here, go to your filter, and you can either add additional filters if you have large data sets and you want to apply more than one filter at a time, you can do it here. And you can also remove those filters and it'll remove them from your map. So a nice way to be able to query your data and filter based on specific attributes. Here we also have the ability to add fields. If you say, hey, I want to add a field for general notes, you can add a field, and then if you were to go in and edit your data, you can go in and populate that field accordingly. Going back now to the QC hydrant item in the content here. You've also got that filter item here, so it's going to bring up that same window that you were able to pull up from the attribute table, then to help you build those expressions. And the other two icons that you see here are related to analysis. So you can do some cluster analysis, or you can go to perform analysis, and that's going to bring up the same set of options that you see at the top of your screen here under your analysis tab. And so what you can do here are any number of things related to geospatial analytics. So you've got options here to do feature analysis or raster analysis, so I can go to feature and it'll bring me some options here that I can do some data summarization. You can see some of those options here in terms of aggregating points, doing summarizations of nearby features or features located within specific areas. You got options to do some fine location-based analysis, so things like choosing optimal facilities, watershed delineation, downstream tracing, some things tied to drainage. So for this example, what I'll do is I'll do a sample assessment of hydrant locations, and if we were to say, for example, that the code stated that all buildings needed to be located within 500 feet of an existing hydrant. We wanted to verify whether that was the case or not. You could use a basic spatial analysis from our use proximity toolbox here to create some buffers around our hydrant to see if indeed we have ample coverage based on our hydrants that are on campus. So I'll go ahead here to create buffers, and what you'll see is also there's an icon on the right of each of the toolboxes as well as each of the individual tools. You click that, it's going to give you some nice information about what the toolbox is, what the specific tools inside of it are, what the input parameters are, and how it works. So if you're not sure about how something works or what your parameters should be, this will give you some nice guidelines for how to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say I'm going to create buffers, and I'm going to create my buffer off of the Project QC Hydrants layer. Here you can change your buffer size and you can change the unit, so I'll use that 500-foot threshold that I mentioned. You've got some additional options here, so you've got the option to change my buffer type, whether I have overlapping buffers, which would stay as separate features, or whether they get dissolved. I'll go ahead and select dissolve to make it look a little cleaner. And then you can change your result layer name. And so when you do an analysis in ArcGIS, and it's going to automatically create a new service for you. It's going to save it to your account. So you can see I can either save my result in my account. If you have other folders set up, you can specify where you want to save that content. Let's go ahead and save it in my default folder here. And I'm going to go ahead and run the analysis. So when that happens, you'll see that it adds an item here in gray to my content. It's grayed out because the data item is still being created, so you can see here that the analysis is running. If for some reason I wanted to stop the analysis, I could cancel it here, but it shouldn't take long to run. I'll let it go here for a few seconds and it should complete. And we'll see how our buffer analysis comes out. And so you can see it just finished up. And now our buffer analysis is complete. And so we can see here we have this layer that was just created available now in our content and shown in the static legend. And it looks like our coverage is really good based on that 500-foot guideline. So looks like we have good hydrant spacing based on the test data set. And I can go into that data set now, and I can change the symbology. I can make it look a little different if I wish. And maybe change my symbology to a nice yellow fill with a white outline. And I can change my transparency. I can change my line width a bit. And we can say, see how our analysis came out. So we've now got a nice visualization of hydrant coverage. We've got our hydrants in the map. And now that I've got multiple layers in my map, I can also reorder them. So you can see here that my semi-transparent buffer layer is on top of my point layer. Probably want to switch that around. To do so, if you come over to the table of contents, you'll be able to just drag and drop. So you can just grab the item, I can bring it up here, bring it on top, and now my point layer is on top of my buffer layer, which looks a little nicer. And if I wanted to go ahead and save my map, I can then come across here, and usually we've got some other options that I haven't touched on yet, but I'll do so now. So we can save here. So if I have an existing map, I could just hit save since this is a new one. It'll prompt me for some information on the map, so I can name this SUC hydrant location. Just like I did with my item that I uploaded, I can add some tags to make it searchable. So I'll do SUC, and I'll do hydrants again. I can add a quick summary. And I can also select where I want to save it. So again, if you have folders set up, you can help to organize your content by using those folders and specifying them as needed. So I'll save my map. And you can see my map has been created as SUC hydrant location, and it'll be now available in my content, and then I can share it as needed. If I go to the next option here, now give me the ability to share it. So I can either share my map that I just created with everyone. I can share with everybody within my organization. If I have groups set up, I can share with specific groups. And I can also link the map. So I have a unique URL now that I can copy. I could send it out to somebody, and if they had access to the content, they could see my map. So that's pretty nice way to be able to share the content. Up here we can also print our map, so you can print out a static look at your map with or without a legend. There's some customization you can do within that option. Directions gives you some ability to do some routing. I can also do some measurements within the map here, measuring areas or distances. So if I wanted to just do some quick distance measurements, you can change the units here, and just by clicking on your map, you can measure. So I wanted to look at the spacing between these two hydrants that are along the road here. I can run a quick check and see how far they're about 400 feet apart. And these are just temporary measurements, and when we X out of this option, they'll disappear. So you can measure areas and then through the map tool. We've also got bookmarks, which gives the ability to be able to flag areas that we want to be able to easily get back to. And then we have the search icon, so we can use this to search address or place. This will search against street addresses, points of interest, or common names for places. So you can use that to help find things within the ArcGIS Online environment. And just to show you how to use your bookmarks really quickly, if I wanted to keep this as my default extent, I can just go and I can add a bookmark here. I'll call this extent. Now I'm bookmarked. And what that does is it allows me to easily get back to it. So if I were to explore another area in my map and go off and go on a tangent, and I wanted to be able to quickly get back to SPC, I can just go to my bookmarks, click on it, and we're back. So it gives you a nice ability to be able to flag areas that you want to be able to get back to or that you frequently visit. So in this exercise, I just created a really quick ArcGIS feature service for my hydrant dataset. We created a new map for hydrant locations. We ran a brief analysis to look at hydrant spacing and coverage of campus, and we saved our map. So again, just a really quick exercise to show you some of the capabilities and some of the basic functionality. Hopefully this is a helpful exercise. There's a lot more that can be explored in ArcGIS Online, so hopefully you can take some time and explore and learn about some of the other tools that are embedded that you can utilize. And in the following sessions, I'll focus on ArcGIS desktop software, so ArcGIS Pro and ArcMap. And I'll also talk on some of the integration between ArcGIS Online and those two softwares. So again, hopefully you enjoyed the session and appreciate your time, and look forward to the next one. Thank you.